Here we go. I just want to give everybody a little taste of the music. People watching the live stream don't get to hear the music.
Oh, Lord in heaven.
All right, you ready?
Shh. You're trampling me, man. You're trampling me. I'm going to mute your stupid machine there. And welcome to Season 10, Episode Uno of the Linux Action Show. My name is Brian. With me is Chris.
Hey, Brian. The Shiva plug, $99 Linux PC, obviously, it runs Linux.
Obviously it does.
This is
because
pretty cool.
It's awesome.
All right, so check this thing out. It is called the, I think you pronounce it Shiva. It's S-H-E-E-V-A plug, and it's $99, and it actually fits inside the size of a power brick.
Incredible.
And it's a full Linux machine.
And it's not even just the power brick. It is just like an AC adapter. It's
it is a brick.
A couple of inch version AC adapter. It plugs right into the wall. There's no extra cables coming out of it. It's just this tiny white little box. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's got
awesome.
It's got a USB port on the bottom and a gigabit Ethernet port, because obviously you need gigabit on that thing.
Obviously you do.
So here's the specs. Check this out, Brian. It's got a 1.2 gigahertz ARM-based Shiva embedded processor. Okay. 512 megabytes
still,
of flash and 512 megabytes of RAM. A USB 2.0 port and an Ethernet port, like I said. It supports multiple different types of Linux 2.6 kernel-based distributions.
Right. Of course it does.
Here's the beautiful part. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
5 watts of power.
Seriously. So, and just to make sure everyone's got this perfectly in place, it's got roughly the same specs as most netbooks out there.
Right.
It costs only $99, drains almost no power.
I know it.
If you had a slightly disabled hamster and had him running in a wheel, it would generate enough power to run this thing. You could get this. Put torrents on it to distribute things. Use it as there's all sorts of options there for you, and it's just incredible. You could, since it's got a USB port, you could take an external hard drive filled with digital media and use this as your entire house streaming server.
And what I want to know is they have I don't know how they work with Linux, but there's a lot of those USB VGA adapters, and I want to know if you plug that USB VGA adapter into this USB 2.0 port, if you could get video out of that thing.
I have no idea. I mean, currently, because it doesn't have video out built in or audio. But theoretically, I mean, there's no reason why
you couldn't do a USB sound card.
Throw a USB hub on it and get sound and video, and maybe see if you can get that to work.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
I mean, at that point, though, what's the point? I mean, obviously, its best part is that it's a nice headless machine. But still, that's awesome. Just throw this in, SSH into that mother, and just go nuts.
I know it. I love the 5 watts of power. I think that's so cool. I'll link to it in the show notes so you can find out more information about this.
One of our guys on our channel made a great point. Put a little tiny solar panel next to that sucker.
I know.
Just plug it. Just set it outside somewhere with a little solar inverter. Boom. That'd be just righteous.
What I'm curious about is for $99, this thing has got to explode. But I'm curious to see all the different kinds of uses people will come up with, because people will invent things. So it's something I'll watch for sure, because I think it's just an awesome idea.
It's a hugely awesome idea.
Hey, buddy, welcome back to the big show.
It's been a while.
It has.
It's been a couple of months since we've had an episode, and we've missed the show. Honestly,
we did, and we kind of had thought we were going to end the long format, but it's popular demand, Brian. You can't argue with popular demand.
And let's be honest, there's nothing quite like getting into this show and having a nice, long, indeterminate length where I can just bitch about something. That's just right. That's just so much better in the long run.
So we don't know the exact release schedule of the big show again.
No.
We've kicked around a few ideas. We'll talk more about that at the end of this show.
Yeah.
We
definitely are open to you guys' feedback. If you got feedback, that's going to make a big difference. And really, the biggest difference is going to be, how many people are tuning in. If people really love the big long format show, I mean, we're going to do it a lot more often.
Let's talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, because there's a few things I want to specifically mention and bring up. But I just think that's kind of something for kind of the capper.
Okay, we can cap on that one.
You know what's pretty wild?
No.
The countdown has begun, my friend. The sourse code is nearly compiled. How about that?
Holy crap, you're right.
Yeah, it's like let's see, when we're recording this, it's February 28th.
Yeah.
And her due date is like
it's less than 2 months,
22nd of April or something like that.
Oh man.
So
well,
getting wild.
Hey. So
I'll be sitting here with the baby in hand while I record the show.
You're sitting here with the baby in the next 2 months. That's That's intense.
I know it. I know it.
Wow, you are never going to be allowed to have fun again. This is it for you.
I know.
This is the last one of the last big hurrahs you're gonna have.
I got to enjoy it while I can, Brian.
Yeah, seriously. We got to go hit the town, paint it red and whatnot.
Right?
Seriously.
All right, Brian. Let's do the news.
Oh wait. We have a special thing here.
We do?
We want to talk about our sponsor briefly.
Oh,
here.
okay. All right. Let's do that. Let's do that.
We has a sponsor, and as always, GoDaddy brings this episode. This episode of Linux Action Show is sponsored by GoDaddy.com, the world's largest web host and domain registrar, starting at less than $5 per month. Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to GoDaddy Hosting Connection, the place to quickly install over 50 free applications like WordPress, Joomla, Dremel, OS Commerce, and so much more. Plus, as the listener of the Linux Action Show, enter promo code Linux20. That's LINUX20 at checkout and save an additional 20% on any 1, 2, or 3-year website hosting plans. Some restrictions may apply. See site for details. Get your PC internet now at GoDaddy.com.
Oh, thank you, GoDaddy. So let's talk just really briefly. If you're out there and you're buying yourself a .com or a .org or a .net or whatever, if you could use our code Linux, that'll save you 10%. If you want to get hosting, use Linux20, and we really appreciate when you use those codes because it shows our value to GoDaddy, which keeps them sponsoring our shows.
Which keeps our servers online.
And that's, if we can, honestly, I know we were not even going to talk about this, but just frankly, if we can make the Linux Action Show a breadwinner for us, that's going to be huge. That's
huge.
I mean, because ideally, I'd love to do Jupiter Broadcasting shows full time.
Please.
And
yes.
And if we can drive the value to GoDaddy, then that'll keep that relationship going nice
and
strong.
It would be beautiful. All right. Hey, Chris.
All right, Brian. Let's do the news.
Well put.
Nicely done intro segment, Brian.
Why, thank you, good sir.
Yes, Linux 20 does count for virtual hosts.
Hey, man, look at me. I'm in there.
I'm
answering stuff.
I do believe so, Brian says. Look at you believing so.
I'm telling you, when I believe so, I state that I believe so.
Yeah, you do believe so.
I believe so. All right, so now Chris is getting our sound recording gizmo Rapus all set up for the new segment here, and we're gonna roll right into that. Pretty freaking awesome, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian.
You're doing a great job over there, Chris, with your gizmo Rapus.
Thanks, Brian.
No, I'm really super proud. I'm super proud of Chris for gizmo Rapusing. And Mike Linux is sitting in the chat room pimping all our stuff.
Did you notice how burpy I was?
Yeah, well, I'm feeling burpy too. We had a little bit of Wendy's, and Chris had the Baconator before we started the show.
I don't know if people out there have ever seen the Baconator, but it's a burger. It's like this big. It's 2 or 3 pieces of meat and bacon and cheese, like in every layer. It was too much.
Yeah,
but
way too much.
I wanted to celebrate with the big show coming back.
Yeah. That's the way to celebrate.
Right.
Shove a Baconator in your mouth. Yeah.
Celebrate with a heart attack. Okay. News. Let me get the news going. What's the release date? Okay, April 23rd. Wow.
It's kind of built into the name.
It's well, I know the month. We know that. But its release date is April 23rd. Angela's due date is April 22nd.
That means something.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Do you need something here?
Do you hear a hum? Or is it just...
I think we're all right.
Yeah, we're okay. All right. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm. What's new in the news today?
All right, Brian. Our top story on the news docket for this episode. Ubuntu 9.04's features are announced and has a release date of April 23rd.
I mean, we already knew it was coming out in April, but, it's nice to know the day.
Right.
And it's pretty much the end of April. So
it's good for us to know, because if you recall back in our first episode, we didn't know what the number system in Ubuntu stood for.
Yeah.
The 04 means April, which we now know.
Looking back in time.
Okay.
Feeling retarded.
Yes. So let's try to talk about some of the top new features that are coming in Ubuntu 9.04, which will be out next April. The first one that jumps out is the notification systems, right?
The notification systems was the big one. I mean, this is one that Mark Shuttleworth has talked about on his blog a bit as one of the things that they can do to really make Linux's usability on the desktop match and try to surpass, according to Shuttleworth, what Apple's got with OS X.
Right.
As he wants to be able to show that Linux has the best notification system. Everyone hates when you use like XP or Vista, all those stupid little system tray notification bubbles that pop up. They drive everyone crazy.
Yeah.
Most people aren't that thrilled with what OS X has
Well,
either.
OS X doesn't have everything built in,
But they have
from the factory.
a third-party system called Growl.
Growl, yep.
That a lot of developers
which
use.
honestly, this really seems like this
It's
is
similar.
derived from.
It's similar, but it's built into the system.
Right.
So so that's kind of the big plus there, and it does. The initial shots look good. It's very young yet, and there was some doubt, at least in my mind, as to whether or not they were even going to make it in the 904 release.
There was, yeah.
Because as of the previous alpha release, before the current one, there was still nothing in there with it, and so I'm glad to see the current alpha.
There was like a
finally
hack
has
to get it
in there.
working.
Yeah, it finally has it in there, and it's looking actually pretty good. I'm very pleased about that.
All right, so some of the other new features is a new login manager, a new GDM theme. It's not the 3D face browser that they had talked about. It's just a very slick, very dark GDM login screen. It's nothing super fancy.
No, it's not even like a new big GDM thing. Like if you use a lot of different ones, like Fedora or OpenSUSE, and a lot of these different ones have ones that will list all the users and allow you to
they're very
click
nice looking,
and allow you to click, the user icon and things like that.
But it's dark, and here's what I like about dark: is it's not orange. For one,
it is.
So it's not
actually,
orange.
It looks gorgeous.
So
it has a beautiful brown that I'm not a big brown guy, but this looks good.
It could be the start of moving away from brown and orange, and that would be really huge, right? Don't you think?
A huge. If that really is the look and feel, it reminds me a lot of all those mock-ups that were floating around of what Ubuntu could look like if they stuck with the brown and make it look great.
The chat room says that the 3D face browser is rumored for, or at least it has been stated for version 9.10.
Okay. Originally, the 3D face browser was for 904, but I think it just got pushed out.
Here's a couple other new features for 904. Just your standard package updates: GNOME 2.26, Linux kernel 2.6.28, and OpenOffice 301, which is good because OpenOffice 301 has some fixes for OpenXML imports.
Yeah.
The latest GIMP, the latest Firefox, all those kinds of things.
And actually, this is the first OpenOffice 3 we're having in Ubuntu. So that's actually very nice because OpenOffice 3 really is a lot better.
Right.
And, the last Ubuntu, which was only a couple of months ago, is using I know the version of OpenOffice that's using feels old by comparison. So it's nice to see that sort of
and their big target for this version was the new improved boot times.
Yeah. No. Well, now here, hold on a second.
That's one of the things they list. But you and I have talked about
They've listed improved boot times on every release of Ubuntu we've ever covered.
I know it, dude.
And now I'm going to be fair. They have improved that on pretty much every release of Ubuntu that's come out. So I can't knock them. I like faster boot times. I'm just not that big of a deal. It doesn't affect me that much.
Yeah, exactly.
How often do you boot?
I
Maybe
don't.
once, twice a day, tops?
No, not that much.
See, that's the thing.
Not that much. I'm only talking about my uptime.
On my laptop, maybe once or twice a day.
Sure,
but on my home desktop machine,
once
I reboot once a week.
Maybe sometimes. Sometimes I go more than a month.
And honestly, it's usually because I wanted to. Like it's not because I had to. So
it's the most important on a laptop, but on a desktop, it's almost completely irrelevant.
But even then, still, sleep has gotten a lot better, and Hibernate has gotten better in the last couple of years, especially the last year.
But if you have limited resources, my vote's going to be focus on sleep some more and not so much boot time.
Yeah.
But I realize that's coming from somebody looking from the outside. So.
Yeah. I recognize that too. Plus, I really have no issue with it. I just think it's funny that like the #1 feature for like the last 5 releases now has been.
It has been, and the fact of the matter is like
it loses its pizzazz after a while.
I wasn't super excited about it the first time. Yeah. Like the first time they started talking about it.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're talking about new distribution releases, Brian, let's cover Fedora 11, which is going to be coming out a little later than Ubuntu. It's shooting for a May 26th release. But Fedora 11 has lots of improvements that are along the same lines as Ubuntu, but they also have some of their own standout. They're going for a 20-second startup time.
Okay. So that's fine.
They're also very into the startup time. The thing that's already 100% complete for the current beta cycle is a font managing application that allows new fonts and so if you install a program and it looks better with a certain set of fonts, they're going to include a program that automatically go out and get those fonts for your programs. I don't know how that works, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
Something else they're working on is a new crash reporting system. So if you have an application that crashes on you, it can better help new users submit a bug report to the Fedora team.
Sure, why not?
That's good too.
And I've got no issue there.
And you look at Windows has the and the Mac has this too. It's like we just noticed this piece of software is crapped out on you. Would you like to submit a bug report? And you submit a report, and it just kind of goes off and does this thing, and like you have no idea if that's just like landing on the floor.
Just goes into the neither, and then you never hear from it again.
Right.
Yeah.
So this looks like it's going to be a little more interactive. I actually really like this. Plus, with an open bug tracking system, you can go check.
That's really not bad at all.
All right. Another thing that I find extremely interesting that I'm a little curious about is they're planning to include Firefox 3.1. But as a future story I'll touch on in a second, is Firefox 3.1 looks like it might not ship in time for this release. So that's kind of interesting.
That's not anything new for Fedora though. Fedora has a tendency to ship things very fast and ship release candidates. I mean, they did kind of the same thing with KDE as well.
They're spending a lot of time working on fingerprint recognition, so you can do fingerprint logins.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. They're going to have KDE 4.2 built into it. So you get the latest KDE, of course. Yeah, that's always the thing with Fedora. The new XFCE, because if you use the Fedora on the slimmed down version, those kinds of things. Nothing that just like totally just slams you in the face and is like, holy crap, I've got to have this. But it's it's all really good incremental improvements.
Yeah, it is. And in terms of incremental improvements, this current batch, in terms of both Fedora and Ubuntu, is pretty good. I mean, it's better than the traditional one minor point release revision of Firefox and things like that. It is actually fairly major updates, so I'm okay with it.
This is interesting. They are working on making ext4 file system the default file system. It'll be an option in Ubuntu's 9.04, but in Fedora it's going to be the default is ext4. So that's kind of interesting. That's the replacement of the current generation file system for Linux. Something else that kind of jumped out at me is their what's it called? Empathy, the Pigeon replacement.
Yes.
The Pigeon replacement is going to be shipping in Fedora by default. They're pulling out Pigeon as the default instant messenger, and they're shipping Empathy, which I don't know.
Empathy, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And then English or Eighth Doctor in the chat room is pointing out that the Novu, the open source NVIDIA driver, they're shipping that instead of the proprietary driver to get 3D acceleration out of NVIDIA cards.
That's actually going to be kind of interesting, and this is something I think is worth pointing out. So the potential for breakage there on both Fedora and Ubuntu is high when it comes to video cards, because Ubuntu's revving the version of X11, and they're making a point of saying that there may be a while before video card drivers catch up, where a lot of people are going to lose 3D acceleration on the desktop after the initial release.
I think the official stance right now is 3D is not supported. It's going to be like a high quality 2D driver or something like that.
So if any of you guys out there are big Compiz guys or anything like that, or gamers, you might want to hold off on the next Fedora and Ubuntu release,
replace it
for a little while,
or replace the
or hold off on the distros for a couple of weeks or something before just to make sure the drivers get out there.
All right, so the next story on the news docket is one I think you probably know a lot about. The Microsoft versus TomTom lawsuit.
Yeah.
But does it really have anything to do with Linux? So Microsoft is suing TomTom on several different patent violation claims. Allegedly, TomTom is violating some Microsoft patents.
And of course, TomTom, if you don't know, is the GPS driver manager guy.
Yep, it is a step-by-step nav system. It does run embedded Linux, but the user would never know that.
No one
UI
ever
is
knows
covered
that,
up. Yeah.
It's cool that it does, though.
So they are attacking TomTom essentially on a lot of patent violations, some of which are like the means to determine directions, which seems like every GPS system violates that.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where Microsoft's got a bunch of patents, just like everyone else in the tech world has a bunch of patents, and they're suing each other over the patents.
But here's where everybody is kind of seeing the Linux flavor, other than the fact that TomTom runs Linux, is they're suing TomTom over the use of their file system. They don't call it the file system format. They call it like the way the TomTom stores files on the device.
It's specifically the ability for the file system.
The method and system for file system management using a flash-enabled programmable read-only memory.
Right.
Is one of them.
That's one
and
of
then,
them.
And then the other one
The
is,
other one is dealing with file names that are both long and short.
Right. And so essentially they're suing over the use of the fact that the TomTom uses FAT32. Now, where people are
Right.
concerned about Linux is that Linux kernel ships with FAT32 support.
Right. Which so a lot of people are very, very upset. They're thinking this is kind of the first major salvo in the shot where Microsoft's like, I'm coming after you, Linux. I'm going to sue you for patents. And really, this doesn't have anything to do with Linux at all. They're just suing TomTom over this particular device,
Yeah.
and they're suing them with every patent that applies to the particular device.
Now, here's what happens is the distracting thing that often happens in the open source community is the reactionary approach that this is the first shot in the Microsoft
Right.
war against Linux. When the fact of the matter is I'm fairly sure that at the end of the day, a lot of this crap's going to get thrown out because Microsoft actually already tried to sue someone over the use of FAT32. I don't remember if we
that
covered
was
this
a
a long
while
time
ago,
ago.
yeah.
And the judge just said, you know what? Sorry, Microsoft. FAT32 has become so universal.
it's a standard, basically, is what they decided.
They said it's a standard, and
That's a
you
de facto
just,
standard.
You're SOL. So I'm pretty sure that this component of the lawsuit is not going to work out in Microsoft's favor. So I'm not too worried about it. But what's happened is a reactionary segment of the Linux community has taken this as the first shot, and
Right.
it detracts from the overall discussion because what we end up doing is we end up screaming, crying wolf every time something like this happens. So people out there don't take our matters and the issues that we bring up seriously because to them, if you're on the outside, it seems like we're always upset about all these little small things that never really
Right.
develop into anything. I mean, you and I can think of
Yeah.
several stories we have covered here on the Linux Action Show that were like really huge deals that kind of just turned into nothing.
Nothing at all.
I mean, now I'll just throw this out there and people might disagree with this one, and this isn't even the first one that came to my mind, but we spent months discussing the Microsoft Novell deal and how it was going to poison OpenOffice, how the Samba people had to jump out and go to GPL3 because
And
it was
obviously
poisoning Samba.
they were creating the deal with Novell, and so Novell's customers would have patent protection, but Microsoft was going to sue everyone else.
Right,
and
that
all
was the
these
big
other
thing,
things.
yeah.
And none of that happened. It just didn't happen. Why? Because Microsoft doesn't care if it happens or not. Plus, it would not be a smart move. And now here's one of the things that bothers me the most about a lot of the reaction from the various community out there is that by making a big stance and saying, oh my gosh, this is Microsoft attacking Linux and all these other things,
Right.
this is us making the case that people should not use Linux.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. For
Right.
years, we've been saying Microsoft is spreading all this FUD, all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Linux, saying that, oh, it's got to be scary. Microsoft might sue you if you run Linux. And that's why companies won't run Linux.
Let me say something here.
But-
I worked for a bank for a long time. I know I've said that a billion times. And the fact of the matter is I was really trying to sell our chief technology officer on the use of Linux in our infrastructure. And he said, I won't deploy Linux. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
This is actually before the Novell Microsoft deal. I won't deploy Linux because I'm afraid of the patent issues
Right.
that surround Linux. And we're a Washington State based. It was a large independent bank in Washington, the largest independent bank in Washington. And so they were worried that since Microsoft is also in Washington, that Microsoft might look at this bank and say, hey,
Right.
you're using our patented technology, and they might come after this bank. And so he was afraid of using Linux because of the patent reasons. Now, this is the thing. He got this fear from reading stories online, from reading magazine articles, things like that. He was a very well-read follower of the technology community.
Sure.
But he read traditional media. And the thing is when we rattle this cage all the time, Microsoft doesn't need to do anything.
They don't do
We're
anything.
doing the FUD for them.
Right.
We are spreading the FUD.
We're the ones that are doing it. This is the part that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, a great example is about 7 or 8 months ago, Steve the Monkey Boy Ballmer
Right.
gets up on stage and he made some random comment in an interview
Yeah.
where he alluded vaguely to the fact that Microsoft could sue people over open source
it's-
patents, and that's all
and then
he really
everybody
said.
freaked out.
And then there was articles everywhere, and there was Wired articles, and basically the whole Linux community freaked out and said, "Oh noes, Microsoft is going to
Right.
sue us." And then we were the ones on the Linux side that scared away the people from coming to Linux.
And,
it was not Microsoft. It was just Microsoft. All they had to do was make one idle chit chat comment,
Right.
and we did all the work for them.
Like Matt69 in the chat room points out, he says, we don't start the FUD. Well, we don't start the FUD, but what we do is we take that little bait that they give us. And
Yep.
Microsoft is a smart enough company that they know they can go out there and make a comment like
Yep.
that, and then they know we will freak out over it, and we will build more PR for them than they could have paid for.
Yep, it's ridiculous.
They would not be able to pay for the level of FUD that we end up spreading because of all of this.
It's a ton of FUD. It's a truckload of FUD. It's
Right.
so much FUD that Biff Tannen, if he was like cruising along and he had to come to a screeching stop and he hit a truck full of FUD, his whole old like 1940s, 1950s car would be filled with FUD, and he would say, "I hate FUD." And that's how much FUD
And we
we're
know how
talking
much
about.
Biff hates manure, and if he hates FUD even more,
That's right.
yeah. So that's what I want to say about that.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, so everybody, seriously,
Simmer
if you've
down,
been
take a
freaking out,
breath.
stop freaking out. If you listen to blogs, read blogs, or listen to podcasts that have been freaking out, write in and tell them, hey, quit your
Figure it out,
yapping.
everybody.
Yeah, focus on what's real and stop freaking out.
All right, Brian, the next story on the news docket for this episode. Now, I had briefly mentioned Novell there for a bit, so let's continue with the Novell trend. Novell lays off OpenSUSE workers. So Novell has had to go through some layoffs lately. You know, the economy has seen better days, and everyone is affected. Microsoft, you know, they laid off 5,000 people, or they're laying off 5,000. And now Novell's had to do some layoffs. Now, I don't know the size, but I do know that about 100 people were laid off from Novell. And I don't know the size of those members that of the number that was in the OpenSUSE team.
Right.
But we do know a couple of guys, at least from the blogging, were from the OpenSUSE team, and I don't know how this impacts the OpenSUSE project. But
Right. But I mean, it's still not good. One way or the other, it's not a good thing. I mean, we know, we want to
too bad.
see Novell and all the other companies that are supporting Linux and doing work on Linux and supporting all the free projects out there do as well as possible.
right.
So hopefully this is not a sign of things to come.
I know.
Hopefully this is not a trend. It's small enough that I'm okay with it for now. Maybe it's just a restructuring
100,
deal. It's a
yeah.
lot of people, but maybe we'll be all right.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so.
All right, so the next story on the news docket is probably something that most of our listeners won't get too interested in, but, I am a server guy, and I know some
Yeah.
of our listeners are server guys too.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd cover this. Red Hat has set its virtualization agenda for the future. Red Hat has announced its plans for virtualization in the Red Hat Enterprise Linux distribution that is going to switch from Xen, the Xen virtualizer, to KVM. The switch up is kind of interesting. It's going to happen over the next product releases. And it's slated as kind of a phased rollout for the next 12 months. And then by the time that Red Hat, I think version 5 of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, 5.4, will have KVM instead of Xen. Now, the reason why this is interesting, and I think it might be a bit of a gamble. Now, let's very briefly, virtualization. I'm sure a lot of you know about VirtualBox and VMware and things like that, QEMU. Well, Xen and KVM are much more closer to the bare metal hardware.
Right.
And so they're higher performance virtualizers. But here's the thing, Brian, and I think you remember this just from when we played with Xen, is you have to reboot into a specific Xen kernel.
Yeah.
And so what that does is that precludes you from being able to take advantage of the absolute latest developments in the Linux kernel because they don't always work in the Xen kernel.
Right.
So whereas KVM is built in to the actual Linux kernel. So you can just run one mainline kernel, you get all of the benefits of the upstream fixes, and it's actually a pretty good virtualization technology.
No, it has actually very, very cool.
But here's the thing. In a data center, in a corporation, they hate change because change leads to instability. So this is why I think this is a bit of a gamble of a change. Even if Xen isn't ideal, that was the call they made. And now they kind of got to play it out.
Right. They're stuck with it for a while.
Right. So my employer, they decided to go with VMware because they were going a little bit before Xen was ready. And there's some other things that have come out, but we've built an entire infrastructure around VMware. We've built scripts, we've built processes
so
and
you're gonna be
procedures.
sticking with that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of are sticking with it. So I think there's going to be some people in the data center environment that are not super happy with this change. Now, that said, is I'm pretty sure that the Red Hat Virtualization Manager is going to include some converters to convert your Xen virtual machine to a KVM virtual machine and things like that. But overall, I I know that data center guys just hate this kind of stuff. When you try to standardize on a technology and then the technology gets pulled out from underneath you, it's a really difficult thing to kind of roll with, because your job's on the line and your uptime's what's important, all those kinds of things, and you don't really care what might be the better technology as long as it works, and so on and so forth. But and honestly, the thing is the way Red Hat's structured. They have the Red Hat Enterprise, and then they have Fedora. This change already happened in Fedora a few releases ago. So if you were watching the Fedora release,
you could kind of see it coming.
You kind of saw this coming.
You kind of saw this coming. And of course you could still keep using Zen.
You could.
But that's not the way that they're going in the future. So if you're looking at support down the road, that's potentially not going to be
right.
there. So
yeah.
So it's not going to be thrilling from an IT guy point of view.
All right, Brian, the next story on the news docket for this week. Firefox 3.1 won't be shipping this quarter. So, did you see about this? Did you hear about this? So, the big hubbub right now is...
No, it's cool, because there's all these other browsers coming out really pushing the limits in terms of speed and features. So Firefox doesn't need to worry about playing catch-up at all.
That's the big thing right now, is how fast can your JavaScript engine be?
That is kind of the thing.
Yeah, it's like, how like car guys like want to tweak their engines? Well, right now, all the browser guys are tweaking their JavaScript engines.
Seriously.
And so the new JavaScript engine that's going to be, or that was supposed to be shipping in Firefox 3.1 is called TraceMonkey. Right. And it's kind of a new, really fast, high-end system. But they're saying there's just too many bugs right now. And so they either were going to, A, ship Firefox 3.1 without TraceMonkey, or delay 3.1 when TraceMonkey is ready.
Right.
And I think shipping without TraceMonkey would have been a horrible mistake.
Yeah,
because it just would have been another Firefox.
It would have been another Firefox, and honestly, it doesn't need another Firefox unless it has the updates.
If you're not going to step up and compete with what WebKit is bringing through Chrome, or through just WebKit.org, or like Epiphany on Linux, then don't.
And more to the point, this isn't just a faster JavaScript engine. What we're actually talking about here is the next version of JavaScript as well. This is the same version of JavaScript. This is the new open source JavaScript 2 that has basically essentially what is a JIT compilation.
Yeah.
That is the same language as ActionScript 3 that Adobe is using for their newer Flash stuff, which is a very cool language, but basically it brings more power to scriptability in the browser. And to ship with that now would really one up things like Chrome and Safari.
Right.
But shipping without that now is just baloney.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's baloney, Brian.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm really looking forward to, and I think they're bringing this in 3.1, is HTML5 support. Have you seen some of these animation demos in HTML5? Like, I'm talking full page animation. Plus,
it looks great.
Plus, it's OGG video is going to become an HTML5
Man,
standard.
how awesome would it be to have one video standard online that we wouldn't have to worry about, doing Flash and MP4 and all these different video and audio formats anymore. We could just release one freaking file and have everyone in the world be able to use it.
I'm really excited about that.
Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That would freak me out so much.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled. But, it doesn't look like that's really going to be happening. I mean, it's
well, it'll happen. I mean,
it'll happen
HTML5
eventually.
has like a video tag system that you use, and you point to a Theora file, and it's Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, but we have to rely on all the different browsers to support OGG. I mean, or whatever format. I don't even care what it is. I do not care if the format is like JPEGs stitched or bitmaps stitched together.
Animated GIFs.
Animated GIFs is the standard from now on. I don't care. Just make one standard and just do that everywhere.
All right, so last story on the news doc is just kind of a fun one. I work in the tech support field, and it's a curse. And there was I felt like through the first part of 2008 till probably all the way through Q3 of 2008, I thought I have not really had to fight Windows viruses very much anymore.
Yeah.
And then like Q4 of 2008, it's just been, since then I've just been slogging it out in the virus trenches again. And now there is a new Windows virus out. So if you've got Windows friends out there, they're like, why should I switch from Windows? Well, here's a good tip for them. A new worm out there freezes up your laptop fans and overheats your GPU and processors.
Oh, man. That is hardcore.
Like on all these new machines, there's like there's a software-based controller on the motherboard that controls the different RPM speeds of the fans. Well, this frickin' worm out there, Brian, it tells that little chip on there to just stop. Just 0 RPM. And then your stuff overheats. So always a great opportunity when you can poke a little fun at the Windows guys and say, hey, you know what's nice? not getting viruses.
Man, that is ridiculous.
I've
That is
often
absolutely
wondered
ridiculous.
why this hasn't happened, and now we've seen it.
All right, well, here we
So,
go.
you know, the best
way
fix
to-
for
way
that
to go,
virus-
guys.
The best fix for that virus is throw a live CD on there and say, "Hey, look, your fans are working again."
Seriously.
There you have
Or
it,
run
Brian.
just like Windows 3.1.
Right,
Yeah.
the one that just can't.
Either way.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
All right, Brian. That's all the news for this episode.
Boom. Right there.
That's how we do
That's
it.
how it's done.
What do you think, huh?
Well, I think this is how we do it.
Did
It's
we just do
Friday
an
night.
episode of? Did we just cover the news and the Linux Action Show?
Let me tell you a story. Just sit right there. Let me tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air.
It's called the Shiva plug. Ustreamer 91231. I'll link to it in the show notes when we post the show.
Whistle for a cat. When it came near, the license plate said fresh, and there was dice in the air. If anything I said, this cat was
Man, I am
right,
burpy.
Forget it. You're home to Bel Air.
Are you the Fresh Prince? Okay,
I feel like the Fresh Prince today.
so are you feeling like World of Goo time?
I said, what?
World of Goo. Let's do a little research first. Everybody gets to sit there and watch us do a little research because we've only played it a little bit. World
Well, I played it a bit.
of Goo. Anybody out there? Okay,
We're going to talk a little bit about World of
we're going to
Goo,
talk a
yeah.
little about World of Goo. I've played it for a little bit, and Brian's played it for a little bit. Is there any specific thing we should mention about World of Goo that you think is definitely something, obviously, other than the fact
Or
that,
that you'd like to know about.
it runs it runs on Linux and all those kinds of things? Oh, look at that! Eighth Doctor got it free for blogging about it. Well, crap, we could have gotten the hookup. We're podcasting
I
about
paid
it.
for it. What the hell am I doing? Damn it.
All right. So, anybody have anything they want us to talk about with World of Goo? World of Goo.
It's a game. Runs on Linux. Yeah. I got a couple of things to talk about with it. Good game overall.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
You want to do it?
Oh, why not? Are
Yeah.
you ready?
Oh, are you kidding? Oh.
Oh?
Oh.
Oh?
Do you want to intro it? You know, Chris.
What's the name of the company? It's 2D Boy, right?
Yeah.
2D Boy.
We always like talking about games on the Linux Action Show.
Sure do.
See how much it is. It is $1 billion. Interesting. 100% region free and DRM free. I like that. It's 20 bucks.
Mike.
All right, it's 20 bucks. What did Mike do?
Nothing. He was busting my balls a little bit.
Oh yeah.
He was just doing a little ball busting.
Should I play the trailer?
Right now? You can play the trailer. You mean during the show?
Yeah.
The trailer doesn't show much, really. It's just kind of an intro
I
thing.
just want to hear it then.
Yeah. All right, Chris is listening to the trailer, everybody.
We could intro it with this music on and then I'll just say.
Sure.
All right, tell me when you're ready. I'll hit record and I'll start playing the music and then you just kind of, we love talking about video games on Linux Action Show. And
Yeah.
then I'll just fade it out.
I got it.
Ready?
No, but do it anyway.
Okay.
We love talking about games on the Linux Action Show.
That's right, Brian.
I mean, we love talking about games.
And so what we're going to talk about in this episode of Linux Action Show is a new game that's come out for both Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it's called World of Goo.
World of Goo.
Yeah, this is actually looking like a pretty fun game. So like we said, it is available for all three platforms. It's 100% region-free and DRM-free, which we're always big fans of. Because
Huge fans.
nobody wants to load that kind of region crap or that DRM crap on their machine.
No.
All right, so World of Goo, it's kind of like, what would you say? It's kind of like a puzzle game?
Yeah, it's like a puzzle game. There have been lots of games like it in the past. It's your basic connect some stuff up to make it do some stuff / a little bit mixed with
Building
pipe
things to it.
dream plus some other stuff.
Build things to achieve your goal, move things to achieve your
Yeah.
goal, and you kind of navigate
Yeah.
the entire thing with a little spermy-looking thing.
Yeah, it does look a little spermy, but it looks very, very cool. It's got a cool style to it. It's got a cool.
It's kind of cel-shaded.
Yeah, it's kind of cel shaded. It's very cartoony. It's very. It looks like it was all purposefully drawn by like a 5-year-old,
Right.
and that's kind of the artistic style of it. It's very I don't know, mixed. It's like Beetlejuicy, Tim Burton-y, old school, kind of pseudo creepy but not creepy. They did a nice job on it. It's a really good game.
It's done by a company called Tootie Boy, and they're just a small shop. They're not very big, and so they're really pushing it. They've also put it out for the Wii, and honestly, it does feel more like a Wii game than it does a PC game. But you can play with your mouse.
Right, you can play with your mouse, and it plays very well. And I definitely recommend the title overall. It's nice to see. I mean, we've seen over the last year to 2 years more and more of the indie games coming to Linux.
Right.
You know, we saw a lot of stuff from Greenhouse, which is kind of the little thing that was kickstarted by Hothead Games and Penny Arcade. Those folks, when they released their Penny Arcade Adventures, and a few other titles were released by other people and brought into Greenhouse that run on Linux as well.
Yeah.
And so a lot of quality 2D games have been coming to Linux. Not 2D, but quality games.
Well, this is a 2D game, though.
But indie games, you know, coming to Linux. And it's very, very nice to see. We're kind of seeing a resurgence of independent game development and publishing lately on all platforms. And it's just nice to see Linux not be left out of that.
Did you see the hinting? I know we're getting away from World of Goo here, but did you see the hinting that Valve has been doing a little name dropping that Steam is coming to Linux, and I don't know in what capacity.
Well, it's there have been in the last release of Valve their Steam service, there was a number of Linux specific libraries inside of inside of the thing anyway, and there, I believe on someone's blog there was another set of hints about it. But as far as I can tell, there's nothing specifically said that's it's coming to Linux and you're getting all of Steam and this sort of thing.
Right.
It very well may just be a little bit of extra support for running under Wine or something like that. We don't really know yet.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be absolutely amazing to get all these independent games plus major support of a lot of the games from Valve? Oh my lord!
Dude, that'd be so awesome.
It would be phenomenal. It would be absolutely phenomenal.
So a little bit about World of Goo is that it's basically a 5-chapter game, and it's all about completing puzzles and figuring out the tricks and building things to get there. If it's like a slight splash of what's that game on the PS3? The building game on the PS3. I'm drawing a blank.
PS3 building game.
No, the new one that we reviewed in Castablasta with the little sock puppets.
Oh, yeah. Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet. It's a little bit of Little Big Planet where you can build your environment a little bit. It's got a total of 38 levels.
Yeah, but it's more of a puzzle
levels.
game. It's more of a puzzle thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, though. I mean, it's just in that building sense. It came out for Linux on February 14th of this year, so it's fairly recent. It's been out earlier for the Wii, and the other operating systems came out earlier in 2008, or late in 2008, I guess. And it's just a great little fun game. It's one of those games where you can pick up and play for a little bit and then walk away, which is my ideal kind of game.
Yeah.
Because the more busier I get, the less and less time I have for those really massively engrossed games.
Oh, sure.
And so these kind of games where I can just fire it up, play it for a little bit, and with 48 levels, I'm going to be able to play for a little while. You know what I mean? I'm going to get some decent play out of it at the rate that I'm playing.
Absolutely.
The music is great. All the different sound effects are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they did a great job with the environment. It's very moody. It's very kind of almost emo-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, I'm very, very hopeful that that when they get a chance in a few months from now to look at their stats, they see that it was well worth it financially to do the Linux version. I'm really hopeful of that.
Something that's kind of interesting is this game, at its peak of development cycle, had no more than 3 developers working on it.
Yeah, small project.
It really kind of shows you what a dedicated team can do because it's a really impressive piece of software. Plus, it's multi-platform, which is also very awesome.
That's very awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very
I wanted
awesome.
to ask you while we're talking about video games, do you consider, the mantra that we used to hear a lot is Linux will take desktop on when there's games.
Yep.
Linux cannot be successful until there's games.
Yep, that's been the thing.
Do you think that's still the case?
Yeah, actually.
You do?
Well, I think the games is what it comes down to. I mean, there's a lot of other things that go on in the computer world. I mean, people talk about their image management and image manipulation. Linux has got that down. But really doesn't have the video work down, right? So that's really what it's missing has been games and video editing. And really most people don't do video editing.
Right.
But most people who would be willing to switch platforms play games. So
that's true.
So right now there still aren't most games available for Linux, and there aren't most games available for Windows either. But yet people are for Mac. But people are still switching to the Mac side.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But there are slightly more games available for Mac than for Linux. So I think we're getting to the point now. There's a lot of indie
if consoles are making it. I'm just wondering if the consoles out there are making
it easier
gaming
to make the
on
switch.
the desktop more irrelevant.
Well, look
'Cause
at it this
it
way.
has for me.
Look at it this way. A real-time strategy game like a StarCraft or anything like that. Do you want to play that on a console?
If I can,
sometimes,
yeah,
but
if I
they're
can
not
hook
as
up a
great.
piece- if I can hook up a keyboard and a mouse.
But you know what I mean.
And
Most
there's-
times you don't. Most times the
Right.
games aren't geared for that. And
Yeah.
so there are still going to be a lot of
But
games that
if
people
you,
like
if
playing
you
on
could
the
play
desktop
World of
or PC.
Warcraft with a keyboard and mouse on like the PS3 or the Xbox, why wouldn't you?
Right.
I would almost rather not have to load my machine full of that crap.
But I mean, like, let's say most women, right? If you want to get a woman to switch to a Linux machine, sorry, ladies out there to clump you all together, but there are certain games like The Sims and whatnot, right?
Right.
The ladies need the game.
Right. Well, what happened
and-
when before the show was on, we were playing World of Goo, and my wife walked in, and she's like, "Oh, what's that? I want to play that. Can I go download that?" Like immediately.
Right,
She
right.
didn't even see it for 15 seconds before she wanted it.
Right. There are going to be a lot of games like that. And if those games are available, at least in greater part for Linux, then yeah, it's going to help Linux adoption greatly. Now, one of the bigger problems is where do you find games for Linux? There's a lot of games, commercial games and hardcore games that are available for Linux that a lot of times people don't even know
there's
are
tons
available.
of great games. We've covered them on some of our episodes.
So, well, I'm like let's say so there's the Wolfenstein Enemy Territory games.
Right.
Prey is available. There's Doom 3. There's a lot of big,
Quake.
huge titles available for Linux that run great. But is there any when you ask someone where do I go to find Linux games? Well, you look through your repo,
You Google it a
and
little
you
bit.
Google a little bit.
Check out the
There's
Linux Action Show.
There's no one place you can go. Like if you go to IGN to look for news about games, you don't find there's a PC section, but that's it.
Yeah.
Because people don't consider Linux a gaming platform.
Right.
And so you don't have, I mean, there are websites out there that list games for
index
Linux.
it, yeah.
And actually one, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll try and link to it in the forum. That's run by a listener of the show.
Yep.
And that helps. But what we really need everyone to know that those sites are there so they can just go, get the details, and grab the games they're looking for.
Now, I haven't seen this, but T. Wright in our IRC chat room says that when they released the Linux version of World of Goo, their sales shot up 40%.
Really?
Yeah. Now,
see,
that's interesting. don't you think?
They got a ton of press for releasing the Linux version.
Well,
now here's something kind of interesting. So,
I would think so.
Now I know from one other commercial software developer that I've talked to a lot over the last few years that the Linux version of their application, I'm not going to go into details right now because I don't think they want me to give out sales numbers, but I know the Linux version of their application actually didn't ever sell that well.
Really?
It sold kind of well, but not quite well enough all by itself to
that's too
sustain
bad.
it. But the amount of free press they got for making a Linux version noticeably made their Windows version shoot through the roof because they had a Linux version. And they actually heard from customers that they wanted to know that a Linux version was available in case they wanted to use it in the future.
Sure.
And so that's why they bought it for Windows, which is weird to me. And now maybe that's a specific in the market, but
it could be
having a
dependent
Linux
on your
version,
application, yeah.
you know, if someone comes out with something very, very cool and high profile for Linux, that's going to get you a ton of free press, and not just among the Linux world. That's going to be among, CNET and Wired and everywhere else,
Right.
And the Register and everything. So it might make certain business sense to release a Linux version, even if it's just for the press. I know that's kind of horrible to say, but
at
from
that
a
same
business
time,
standpoint, it
if
might
you
make
do
sense.
that, you have to make a really
You have to make it good. You don't want it to come out.
Otherwise,
and
you're gonna get blowback.
Yeah, everyone's gonna say, well, yeah, but it's crap, and why do we want it anyway? And then it's just negative press. So you want it to be good, but I'm just saying, it might be worthwhile just from a marketing standpoint for them.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to see that the World of Goo guys are doing well with this. This warms my cockles to no end.
Yeah, you can download a demo for Linux, or you can buy it for Linux for $20. So I'll link to it in the show notes. I think it's pretty cool. When people
Absolutely, and well worth it. Well worth it.
Plus, no DRM and region free. I like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Brian. Well, that's World of Goo, now available for Linux. And I'd say my review of it is it's most enjoyable.
Absolutely.
I'm not very far in it yet.
It's not my type of game. I'm going to be honest.
It's more my type than it is your type.
It's more Chris's type of game. But honestly, I actually kind of liked it. It was very quality, and I can't recommend it enough.
Right. Word to your mother.
Mother word. There we go. That's what I like to call extreme podcasting power.
Do you want to talk about Radical Codex?
Are we talking about Radical Codex today?
It's up to you. It's up to you.
I don't know. Are people tired of hearing about it? I don't want to harp on people about it.
Well, we could just mention it at the end of the show.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Slash
I don't
wants to
mind
know
doing
what
a
your
match.
favorite video game is.
My favorite video game ever? Oh man, Slash. This is actually a very difficult one. So okay.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, collecting and restoring vintage arcade machines is kind of one of my primary hobbies. I collect like really old machines. I'm not talking like, just like Pac-Mans and whatnot. I'm going all the way back to like Tank, Pong,
Yeah.
Computer Space, these sorts of things. So honestly, I am a big fan of Space Duel. Is probably my favorite game of all time, which is basically Asteroids, only it's 2-player, and you can either play cooperatively or against each other, shooting each
Nice.
other, or cooperatively tied together so you can pull each other in different directions and accidentally get each other killed.
Let me ask you something. What game would you
Old
say?
game, but great.
What game would you say you come back to the most?
What game do I play the most?
Like just over the years of your gaming life, what game have you come back to play the most?
Civilization.
Okay.
Civilization is great. Civilization, the original, or even Civilization 2, man, I can waste so
Yeah?
many
All right.
hours.
I thought maybe StarCraft 2 might be high on that list.
StarCraft 2 is high, but that's more of a, that's more of a LAN part kind of game.
Yeah, it
you
is.
get together with a couple of buddies, get completely
Right.
drunk, and play StarCraft.
Right.
You can't go wrong on that. But no, I'm more of a strategy guy. I like Civilization, Colonization, Alpha Centauri, these sorts of things. Those are my kinds of games. SimCity is fun too, but that's usually the way I go, unless I'm going arcade.
All right, so here's what I'm thinking. We'll launch the wrap-up segment. You and I will talk about, why don't we do this? Why don't we say, and that brings us, like we do, and then say, but first, Chris wants to talk about our store. And then I'll start talking about the Jupiter Broadcasting store.
Okay.
That'll be like our end of the show sponsor is our own store.
Okay.
And then we should talk about
Ooh, Settlers, yeah, that's a good game.
we should talk about what we want our release schedule to be. And I'm of the opinion.
Are we gonna take any calls?
Oh yeah, we could take calls. Out in the chat room.
If you guys want calls,
Would you
let
take
us
calls?
know.
Would you-
If
Our
there's more than two
the
or
thing
three
is,
of
our
you that wanna try
Skype's
it.
really sucked because I don't know if it's because of the streaming or what. I
either.
streamed for a few hours before we started this, so I think my cable modem's like barely hanging in there. But I'm wondering if people. I know the number one question people are going to walk away from this show is what's going to be the release schedule.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
So
I've gotten a lot of emails about that already.
what do we want to do there?
Are you asking me or the chat room?
You.
Oh crap.
Monthly? Do you want to try to start with monthly and see how people respond to that and see?
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean,
like that.
basically, if we do monthly and we get enough downloads and enough
We can up it.
uses of the codes and the stuff and people. Oh, we should mention we also have the buy us a beer thing. Basically, if we can make some money again off the show and stop costing so much money, I say we just do it as frequently as they want it.
I'll do it daily.
I'll do it daily too
I'll
if
do
people will
it,
support
yeah.
us out there.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll
three
do it
times
three
a day.
times a day.
3 times a day. Okay.
I will stream 24/7. You guys can watch me sleep if I can make a living from it.
So
And I will wear a Linux T-shirt the entire time.
I don't know if we're gonna do calls this episode.
Kind of sounded creepy when I just said that.
Our Skype's kind of sucked. I think I need to restart my cable modem, and so I don't know if we want to do. Plus, I need to open a port to this machine. I don't have that.
Linux voyeurism.
I don't know. You guys want me to do calls? Do you want to try doing calls?
We could give it a try, and if it sucks, we just take it out.
Yeah. Jay-Z, I wish I could let you see the screen, but I don't have the ability to do that. Don't call us. We'll call you. All right, we'll try doing calls.
Let's try it. If it sucks, we'll abort, and we'll at least have given it a try.
Right. And we do like to at least give things a try.
We're triers. It's what we do.
Do.
There's GoDaddy.
Yo, Chris and Brian. Hey, how's it going? We're already getting a call. All right. Bashir's calling us. Turn on the thing there. Bashir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. So where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. So we got a in the States call, so that's a good test. How do we sound on your end over there?
A little bit lagging from the Ustream, but I guess
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah, the Ustream is going to be a little behind.
Yep.
Which is actually kind of cool that you're listening to the Ustream, but I don't hear it coming back through your mic, which is
Yeah, I muted it. I muted it really far so that you wouldn't.
Good deal.
awesome. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about this Linux laptop I have. Well, actually, it didn't come with Linux, but I put Linux on there. I actually bought it without Windows on there. even
Okay.
though Not supposed to.
Well, all right. Well, why don't
And-
we? I just realized we didn't intro the fact we're going to take calls. So we need to do that.
Okay, we'll we'll stay on the
Stay
line
on the
with
line.
this.
You can just hang with us while we do that. And
yeah.
King,
Sweet.
you got to hold on, buddy. We'll take your call next. We already got somebody on the line.
Yeah, we got a line, Foreman. All right.
All right. So yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be a busy little guy.
Why don't I turn off the event sounds?
Yeah, why don't you turn off those event sounds there?
You know what I'm gonna do, Brian, real quick?
You wanna turn the event
I'm gonna
sounds
turn
off?
off the event sounds.
That's a great idea to turn those event sounds
So
off.
what's that called when you get a contacts received? Play a sound? No. All right. Contact request received. Play a sound? No.
Isn't that like a mute all?
Well, I don't want to mute all. I don't think. Do I?
Well, you can mute all the sounds.
I don't know if I want to mute all sounds. Okay. So, we're Bashir, we're gonna put you on mute just for a second while we intro the segment, and then we're gonna come to you, and then we'll be live in the show. Okay.
Cool. Sounds great.
All right. Hold on one sec.
Sure.
You ready?
Ready.
Oh, before we go, hey, Bashir, can you hear Brian? Okay, say something, Brian.
Hey, Bashir.
He's coming through this
Yeah,
mic.
totally fine.
Okay, cool.
I do believe, since this is the Linux Action Show, we should take some listener calls.
Let's take some action calls, Brian. We have Bashir from New York on the line. How's it going, buddy?
Great. How's it going with you guys?
Oh, we're
Not
awesome.
too bad.
We're
I
both
do
wearing our
say.
awesome pants today.
I did. I got up early this morning just so I could squeeze into my awesome pants, which does take a little extra time because I had to break out the shoe horns and whatnot,
Right.
and just squeeze into those puppies. I bought them in high school. Put on some weight since then.
No, you haven't.
So what do you got for us today, Bashir?
I got this laptop, a Lenovo X200.
Okay.
And it originally shipped with free DOS or whatever. I just wiped that clean.
So
I
no
put-
Windows included, huh? That's nice.
Yeah, it was actually an error on their page on the first day it came out, and then I jumped on that.
Way to take advantage of the system.
Yeah, and also it was like free SSD, but never mind.
Right.
So I put Fedora 10 on there, and for some reason I get like 3 hours of battery life instead of 6 hours.
Okay.
It draws like 15 watts of power instead of like maybe some people are saying that they get 10 watts on Vista, and I don't
Right.
know why that's happening.
So have you tried running it on Windows yourself?
No,
Okay.
because I'm not going to buy a license of Windows.
Well, word.
Well, okay, so one of the main thing is, of course, there's the whole tickless kernel thing. Depending on the version that you're running, it may or may not have the tickless kernel. Now, if it
I think
doesn't,
10 might.
does it by default? Does Fedora 10 have the tickless kernel?
I think it does.
Now, okay, and now on top of that, honestly, most distributions of Linux just are not that great at power management
That's
on a
true.
laptop anyway. That's
Now-
usually not their primary focus.
Here's what I'd like to know, Bashir. Do you have? I'm wondering. I think by default, does that laptop have Bluetooth built in? Because I think by default, Fedora 10 runs the Bluetooth in discoverable mode.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
So one thing that's being pointed out by the 8th Doctor in our chat room is that there is a way you can tell to see if your BIOS fails or passes an ACPI cutoff test. And I don't know
Right.
how you do that, but you might want to Google search that because that will determine how the Linux kernel interacts with the power management system. And lower top, I think, is the program he's talking about. Turn off Bluetooth. Check out. Have you tried?
PowerTop.
Have you tried checking out PowerTop?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so that's where you're determining how many watts it's pulling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
does-
PowerTop will help you determine what's pulling those watts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And does
It's
this
usually just kernel interrupts.
okay? Yeah. So it might not be the tickless kernel then.
Okay.
You might want to look into that.
Yeah, definitely check into that because I know running the tickless kernel does help quite a bit.
Yeah, that's the tickless kernel. Basically, what it does is it doesn't keep doing that interrupt check-in. Anybody want me? Anybody want me? Anybody want me? That's what that check-in that you're seeing is, and the tickless slows that down and eliminates some of that. So that might be an area to check.
Right.
The other thing, but I would look into that ACPI cutoff, do a Google search on that, and see if there's some other options there.
Yep.
Sounds great.
All right, man.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thanks. See you later.
Nice.
All right.
we
So
got, we got another one.
We want to take it. Oh, look at that. King is right in it. Okay, here we go. Unmute that, buddy.
I got it.
Okay. All right. Did you hang up or are you there? King, hello? King,
Oh, I'm
King
there.
Sasha?
I'm just trying to make sure the volume's all set properly.
Hey.
Things are wonky on my computer.
Yeah,
Oh,
things get wonky from
The
time to time.
wonkiness.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about, buddy?
All right.
Are you getting distracted by the Ustream lag? Because I think Ustream's like.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky hearing it go out and then in and then back out again.
You probably should be better off to mute the Ustream.
Yeah, just mute the Ustream and we'll just go this way.
All right, man.
All right, there we go. Muted. There.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about?
Whoa, I think I just muted the wrong thing.
I think you're okay.
Oh, you didn't.
All right, I'm okay.
I don't know.
All right, that's good.
I think so.
You sound fantastic.
So what do you want to chat with us about?
Well, I wanted to know.
How do you?
Actually, I was wondering to know why you didn't say anything about the YubiKey.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that. That's great.
All right.
Is it Inuyasha? How do you pronounce it? Inuyasha?
King Inuyasha.
King Inuyasha.
Okay.
Guess what? You get to
That
pronounce that one, Brian.
sounds foreign.
All right, here we. All right. So we're just gonna say we got you on the line. King Inuyasha. Yasha.
I got it.
You got it, Brian.
I'm gonna nail this.
All right, Brian. You ready?
And we've got on the line King something foreign. How you doing today?
Inuyasha.
Insu ramen.
Don't be offensive, Brian.
In sushi. So what can we do for you today, King Surami?
What's going on, buddy?
I have an evil laugh, and I tend to use it more than I do my regular one.
All right.
That's awesome.
I'm glad you
It's
got
nice
multiple
to have
choose
one of
from.
those.
Yeah.
I usually keep one of those around too.
Pull it out of the pocket.
Oh, so what's going on?
Well, today I was working on that laptop that I got a week ago that had that horrible gum stuck in the battery circuits, the orange juice frying the hard drive, and
Oh, jeez.
apple juice in the RAM circuits fusing it into the circuitry.
That's horrible.
Oh, sounds like fruit salad.
It does
I know,
sound
with
tasty
cracks
though.
in the
Yeah, that
edges
does.
of the
Wow, that
screen
laptop
and
sounds
juiciness.
delicious.
I know.
So what's happening?
So aside from your laptop salad, did you have anything else?
Well, I managed to scrape off the gum from the battery circuits, and it got to power on.
Okay.
And with the hard disk thing,
I'm not following
although
you.
I'm kind of scared about the RAM circuits because I want to upgrade it because it's got a horrible amount of RAM.
What you should do is you should make sure that you put a little vinegar in it. That way it doesn't yellow. That's a good
Okay.
trip. Or a little lemon juice. That way it doesn't yellow.
yeah, don't let it yellow.
Otherwise, it still tastes fine, but it doesn't look that good.
No, yeah. Yeah,
people
it,
won't
Why
want-
would I eat
it,
RAM
it
modules?
brown. You don't want it to brown when it hits the oxygen.
All right, and the problem is it still tastes fine, then people don't want to eat your laptop salad.
Or really what you want to make sure you do is don't put bananas in it. Now, I know people like bananas
The
in
thing
it.
is, after they sit for a
They
bit,
sit for a while, they get and
yep.
everything in it. Now, your entire laptop will taste like a
the
banana.
entire machine will taste like
What's
a banana.
the point?
It just ruins it. You're just having a banana salad. It's no longer a
Mike
laptop.
Linux in the chat room says to add some cinnamon. That will help too.
All right, so there
and
you go.
I do agree.
There you
Adding
go.
some cinnamon, a little vinegar, and leave out the bananas.
All right, so there's your tips for a great laptop salad. Thanks,
All right.
buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
That was awesome.
That was fantastic.
All right, I'm going to trim out the breathing real quick, like.
Well done, guys. Well done. That was powerhousing it.
Another one. Anybody else want to call, or should
I
we?
say drunk dial Aaron Saigo again.
All right, unmute. We got another caller.
All right.
All right, here we go. All right, we've got Kit Barnes. Are you there? Hello. Hello, Kit. I can hear you. You're a little low, but I can hear you.
Can't hear you, buddy.
No, I can't hear
Crank up that sound. Go volume crazy.
Are you guys spotting my dog in the background? My dog is curious. Where's Murray?
Yeah, he's been doing the run back and forth every now and then.
Yeah, he's a watcher. All right. I don't think Kit has enough volume. So
All
Kit,
right,
if you get your
we're
volume-
gonna let's dump Kit. Kit, if you get your volume working out,
Give
feel
us a
free to
call
give us a
back.
call back. We're gonna be here for just a little bit more.
All right. Go gadget volume. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else want to call in?
Looks like someone else was trying to give a call a little bit ago.
They were. I hung up on them because we had another call. But anybody else want to call into the Linux Action
This
Show?
action show.
I've
I'm
got
feeling
more.
an extra action.
I've
at the
got more
moment,
laptop
so-
salad tips. If you would like them, you just have to call in.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually thinking about doing deep fried laptop right now. So, like a nice little beer batter, or you know, some sort of like a Japanese breadcrumb batter might actually be good too.
All right. So I think we'll move on because we've got ourselves a almost a 50-minute show so far that we need to wrap up.
Okay.
So I think we'll move forward from that unless there's. I'll give it one.
What you don't want to do a 3.5 hour long show?
Well, I think people out there would like us.
Some
to.
some podcasts have done that before.
We got a voicemail. Unmute this thing. I want to hear this voicemail.
All right, it's going.
Oh, it's only 4 seconds. Nice.
Nice voicemail. I like that
Good
one.
one.
And
Here's
Mike
wh-
in the floor room, in the chat room's asking what my flavor of Linux would be, and it would definitely be honestly,
Cherry
I go
cola?
General So's.
Oh.
The General So's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Get some good
Gen-
General So's.
General
Yeah.
So's. Yeah.
I like that too. All right. Anybody else? Here we go. Going once. Going twice.
Uh-oh, Brown's got to mute it.
Mute it.
There we go. Thanks, everybody. And, next time we'll do more call-ins as well.
I was actually pleased Skype worked as well as it did because we were having problems.
I know. It was kind of freaking out earlier.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up the show. So just and that brings us to the end, and then throw it to me for a store plug.
Okay, I'll throw it to you for a store plug. What else do we want to touch on? And we also want to touch on how often, and anything else.
And basically, how often I think is just going to depend on them.
Okay, I'm down for that.
We talked quarterly, but that's a long. That's so far apart that I'm worried
That's
about
3
audience.
months apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, let's just do it
I
monthly.
think next topic, Mike, is going to be show wrap up. So we'll aim for monthly, and we'll aim for
Yeah.
we'll aim for the end of every month. How about the end of a month? End of the month.
Yeah, that's what we're at
That's
right
what
now.
we're doing right now.
Last Sunday of each month.
Last Sunday of each month.
Yeah.
Last
that's-
Sunday of each month?
What do you think?
Except for this is coming out on the Sunday of next month.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today's the last day because it's a short month.
So
It's a short
last Saturday of the month.
No, we'll maybe record last. It'll be the last Sunday of every month. No, that's
Hold on.
hard to understand.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's hard to understand.
First Sunday of the month.
The first Sunday of the month.
Because we're starting on the first right now.
Is that too hard? Everybody out there, I could use. What do you think? We're gonna start with doing the first Sunday of the month when we come back, and we'll go from there. Anybody? But it's Saturday. Yeah, I know. We record Saturday, but the show releases.
Yeah, live stream on Saturday and then release on Sunday.
I mean,
officially.
everybody here in the stream gets a little sneak preview of what everybody else is gonna be downloading.
You guys are the special ones.
Right.
You're the Mr. and Mrs. Fancy Pants sitting out there.
First Sunday is clear, they say. Okay, we're gonna go with first Sunday then. All right.
And
good.
really, if they have it in the feed anyway, they'll just get it.
That's really the best way to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
I'm probably ready.
We need Chris, we need a 2 weekly show, live on Saturday, release on Sunday. Yeah, I think we're going to try to do the live on Saturday, release on Sunday thing.
Yeah.
I just don't know how often, but that's what we're going to go for.
Yeah.
All
We're
right.
going to start out with once a month, but we'll talk.
All right, ready?
We'll talk about it further.
Here we go.
And that brings us to the end of this production. And I was going to go into
The GoDaddy
brought to you
thing?
by GoDaddy, but we did that
We're
at the
changing it
beginning.
up now.
Holy
but we
moly,
do
my
have-
head just exploded.
We do kind of have a new kind of sponsor. It's ourselves, basically.
We do.
One of the things we've gotten a lot of questions about is how do you guys make your shows? And what we're doing to kind of try to help support the show is we put together jupiterbroadcasting.com/store. And in there we have all of the hardware and equipment we use to make these shows. Video equipment, audio equipment, plus a few of my IT picks that I use throughout my job. Just handy things like portable USB hard drives
Yep.
and things like that. If basically all that store is an Amazon affiliate store. If you buy from there, we make a small percentage.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cost you anything extra.
No.
So it's kind of a nice way to get yourself something, but throw some support at the show.
Right.
Another way you could support the show is at JupiterBroadcasting.com's homepage. We now have a buy us a beer link.
Yep.
And that just sends us a little bit of extra money, because we're really trying to drive some. And I know these are tough times for everyone, and we're just trying to drive a little bit extra money into Jupiter Broadcasting because
Right.
money's a little tight for us, and so we need to make a little bit extra money to kind of help for some of the costs.
Right, and we're trying to do it in ways that cost everyone else as little as possible. So if
Right.
you're going to shop on Amazon anyway, doing it through our store with our affiliate codes would really help us out
Yep.
a lot, that sort of thing.
We really appreciate that. All right, so
and of course, if you do feel like supporting the Big B over here, feel free to buy my software,
Yep.
Radical Codex, for reading all your ebooks and
yeah,
comic books.
Radical Codex is out. Brian, where do they find that out?
They can find that at radicalbreeze.com or
Yep.
over my blog at lunduke.com.
Which is the awesome. Okay. If you want to get your
that was a
reading on.
very shameless plug, by the way. And I want to thank everybody for allowing me to make what I like to call shameless plug.
So let's talk about the release schedule of the big show. Well, I know a lot of people are wondering what our new plans are for that. And so it goes a little something like this, Brian.
Lay it on me.
I think what we've discussed is we will be releasing the Linux Action Show monthly,
Yes.
the first Sunday of every month,
Right.
which means most of the time, not always, but most of the time we'll be recording the Saturday before that
release.
Sunday.
Right. So,
and
so
we
in
like to
this
stream
case,
that.
in this case, we're actually recording in the last day of February for the first release in March.
Right.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And it's also very confusing.
Hey, look at
to
this.
everyone involved.
Random Linux guy in the chat room says he's loving the Radical Codex.
Of course he did. Of course he
Good
did.
job.
So,
So the first Sunday of every month will be a new Linux Action Show, a big show. And here's the way that's going to work: is this show is back based on your request, your demand. And if the show gets a lot of support, then I don't really see any reason why the show won't grow back into a more often release.
Right.
The video shows are still going to be released. They might be a little reduced around the time that the big show is about to come out, so that way we have the time and resources to produce the big show.
Exactly.
But the in-depth looks, the news updates, things like that, the YouTube channel over youtube.com/Jupiter Broadcasting, all still going to see new content.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, it's all going to depend on your interest. So
Yeah.
if the interest level is high enough, we're going to do it as often as we can.
That's the honest truth. Is if we can really drive the show. If we can, I mean, shoot, if I could quit my day job and do the show full time, I would do this. I would do a daily
Yeah.
Linux Action show. But I would love to hear your feedback. This show is basically back because of your feedback, and there's lots of different ways you can get in touch with us. Brian.
Oh, you can do it via email at Brian with a Y at jupiterbroadcasting.com or Chris with an S at jupiterbroadcasting.com. There's
Absolutely.
also the forum at jupiterbroadcasting.com/forum.
Yep.
There's also the super amazing IRC chat room on irc.freenode.net.
Yep.
The channel is pound hash tic-tac-toe, whatever you will say,
bet.
Linux Action
And,
Show.
and honestly, these days, the best way to get a hold of me is probably through Twitter. I try to respond to that pretty quickly.
Oh, yes.
Because of the nature, it's limited characters, so it's easier for me to respond.
Yep.
Sometimes when I get emails, they're quite long, and then it's a little overwhelming when I get a lot of those. But on Twitter, I am twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I am Brian with a Y, L-A-S, for the Linux Action Show. And yeah, I check that throughout the day for all
Yeah.
of your updates and communicatory needs.
We do show updates to there. We also just gripe about things or talk about what we're doing. So it's a good place to follow us if you're just curious about what the goings-ons, when the new shows are coming out, when we're streaming, things like that. It's where you'd follow that.
It is a great place.
What do you think, Brian? Does that just about wrap up this episode
Oh, man.
of the Linux
I
Action Show?
am so completely convinced that wraps up the most amazing episode of the Linux Action Show ever produced by man.
Well, at least by two, man. All right, Brian. Wow. The big show, season 10 is back.
Season 10. You know what that means? We are one of the longest running podcasts, according to season count,
Yeah, if you go by season count,
in
definitely.
human history. You know what we should really do? We
What?
should reduce all seasons to just 2 episodes.
Right.
And just see how high we can get. Be like season 80.
Season 147, episode 2.
Dude, that would be awesome. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you, barring any other changes,
Next
in
month.
1 month.
Bam! That's the big show right there, Brian.
Boom!
What do you think, everybody, huh? That's the big show. It's the big show.
That is a big show. All right, so now we got to do the intro.
Yep.
And yeah, we're good. Thanks everyone. This was fun. You can stick around if you want to watch me flub up the intro real quick, because I got to bang this out. So if you haven't tuned into the Linux Action Show as we stream live before, basically what we do now is Chris whips out his magic editing skills, takes the show, condenses it down into a tiny blurb of text, and then hands it over to me and expects me to read it and sound amazing in one take.
That's true.
And very rarely do I ever actually accomplish that.
Yeah.
In fact, I do believe we've gone up to 10, 20 takes before, and by the end of it, I am sweating profusely because it's harder than you'd think it would
is
be.
harder than you'd think. This week, Brian. How do we want to say it? Do we still want to say this week on Linux Action Show? It's kind of a staple.
Yeah, if we don't do this week on the Linux Action Show, I'm gonna screw it up.
Okay.
So let me talk to the guys while you're putting that together. Helms Deeper is asking when I'm putting out a Radical Codex Debian package for Lenny. Shortly, there will be a Debian package out there before Lenny ships, but probably not going to be for at least a couple more weeks. It'll probably be sometime after Radical Codex 1.1 is out, which I'm working on right now, which adds a bunch of stuff like HTML, ebook support, and things like that.
What do you think of this intro so far? I'm already not liking it.
What do we got?
The big show is back, and we're not skipping a beat.
Make it more awesome.
How did I do that?
Chris is going to try and make this more awesome now
Big
using his
show
magic
is back.
writing skills, everybody. So here we go.
Here we
Let's
go.
see how
I
this
just
goes.
thought of it. And yeah, it's still awesome. How about that? Is that good? I made it more
That's not
awesome.
bad. That's
I made
not
it more
bad.
awesome.
That's not bad. Hey, let me. Why, thanks, sake, Doctor. I do try to produce the awesome from time to time. Oh, and Kit, you're asking me what it's like to develop on Windows versus Linux. That actually, I would like to spend some time on
we
next week.
should have.
No. I'm going to get into it quite a bit. So, Radical Codex for Linux and Windows share like 99% of the same code. Now, the 1% difference, and that's mostly a testament to all the various frameworks that are out there, but the big difference is in reading and rendering all the different document formats. Now, on Linux, it's really freaking easy. So, let's say I need to be able to handle PDF files and convert PDF files. Well, there is a ton of libraries and command line tools and all these different little things that are in pretty much every distro's repository for dealing with PDF files. That's great. So on Linux, I just have to use whatever the best option is and make sure that the package relies upon it. On Windows, there's no options. There's no global repository. So you are left having to roll your own solution or come up with some sort of embedded deal, and it is a ton more work. It's way buggier. It drives me crazy. Oh, holy Lord. I'm not overly thrilled with that on the Windows side. You'll notice the Windows version of Radical Codex has less features than the Linux version, and that's because the Linux version is just damn easier to build when it comes down to it. Like when I want to build support for more ebook readers and whatnot, it's just easier on Linux. I can convert between formats easier. I can do all sorts of stuff. So that alone it's a huge win.
Word, man, word. All right, so
I'm a lot like the 10th Doctor. All right, I'll take that.
can you read that okay, or is my stuff in the way?
All right, what do we got here? I think I can cover. I think I can read that okay.
Do you want to mute my mic while you do it?
Mute your mic. All right. We're muting Chris here, everybody. Here we go. We're going to do the
intro.
We're going to do this old school style. All right. The big show is back. Also, it's up and coming. This is we cover the novella layoffs. Microsoft. Get rid of that second cover.
This one right here, uncovered.
Yeah. And just and the smallest, yeah, and the smallest mirror you have ever seen. Then we review Goo video game for Linux. Okay, let's give this a try. Here we go, everybody.
Oh, hold up, wrong track.
Uh-oh, I got coke throat. I got coke throat.
I know, I do too, actually.
Here we go.
I was noticing that.
I am at a disadvantage at the moment. Here we go. If any of you guys in the chat room ask me questions, I will get to them after I bang this out. Really awesome style. Here we go. This week on the Linux Action Show, the big show is back, and yeah, it's still awesome. We cover the up-and-coming Ubuntu and Fedora releases. We cover the Novell layoffs, Microsoft suing TomTom, and the smallest Linux computer you have ever seen. Then we review the new World of Goo video game for Linux and take your calls. Plus so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show. How'd that feel, everybody? You guys like that? You guys like that? Or you guys want me to do another one? You let me do another one. You let me know.
This is an epic intro.
I'm going to take that as a yes. That's what I like to call professionalism, ladies and gentlemen. I freaking nailed that. See, it's just like me and Papa Bear. I do it live every time. Boom, do it live. All right, so you guys were asking me questions, and I don't remember what it was. All right, since the release of Windows version for Radical Codex, where's the more interest, Linux or Windows version? Cuba declares war on Windows. Awesome. That's right. I remember that one. That was a pretty good one. Okay. All right. So yeah, you guys are asking about the interest between the Windows and Linux version. All right. Now here's a really weird thing, guys, and just because that's like half the point of this is to be completely transparent in everything we're doing here. So the only place you're going to find information about the Windows version of Radical Codex is on my blog and like Jupiter Broadcasting and basically places that are essentially targeted at Linux users, right? So, but since release, each day the Windows version is getting downloaded about twice as much as the Linux version. Now, which is kind of weird for me, considering it's not on any like download websites, the Windows version. The only version that's out there on any like GNOME files or anything like that is the Linux versions, which is kind of And interestingly, the emails I'm receiving, like the support emails and like the people with feature requests and questions, are all people who listen to the Linux Action Show and actually are Linux users, but who are buying the Windows versions for a Windows machine. So it's kind of seeming like I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I'm thinking there's just a lot of people out there that that have both Windows and Linux boxes, either at home or at work or whatnot, that that maybe just want it for both, and we're waiting until there was like maybe both versions to get it. I'm not sure. I'm trying to wait it out. It's only been about a week, so I'm going to see what's going to happen in a couple of weeks. I'm going to release some hard numbers in maybe a month, and we'll figure that out. Yeah, TW, right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. Windows at work is what I'm suspecting, and yeah, we'll see. And what I'm gonna do, and I'm really curious about this because this is gonna tell me a lot more. Is and this has been requested a bit. Is I'm gonna make a completely portable version of Radical Codex for both Windows and Linux, so that you can throw Radical Codex on a USB thumbstick with all of your comics and books, and with a both Windows and Linux binary on it. So no matter what machine you sit down at, you can just double click it and run it. And then I'll include like Debian and RPM packages and whatnot next to it. And all those will do is just be empty packages that will allow you to install all the dependencies. So I'm hoping...
That'd be pretty wicked.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to do that. Now, as people have been pointing out to me, since we've got a Linux and Windows version, why not a Mac version? Well, you guys probably know the answer to that question. I don't really like Macs. I'm not morally opposed to having a Mac version, but the point of this really is to see about Linux sales and about Linux commercial software. But now, if the people who buy and use the Linux version feel like it would be an extra added value to have a Mac version, I will make a Mac version for you guys. But I'm not going to make a Mac version just to sell it to Mac users, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind if they use it too, of course. But being as this is my primary focus for doing it, I want to focus on what it is that the users of the Linux version want. And if that's a Mac version, I'll make a Mac version. Yes, an Open Solaris version actually is potential. I have actually I have actually gotten requests for an Open Solaris version of this.
Whoa. That sounds intense.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's that's what's happening with all that. Hopefully that that gives you guys a little bit of input on where it's going. But we do want to have a little bit longer discussion at some point, maybe next episode, maybe the episode after, about developing cross-platform stuff and talking about really what's the differences between developing them, tools for developing for both, because we've talked about DevTools stuff in the past, and kind of my experiences in developing this application for both platforms. But really, it was developed for Linux first, and so porting to Windows was... Well, it was kind of a pain because it was really designed for Linux, but because I'm an amazing developer, it really wasn't that hard. Because it kept it nice and modular. Dude, okay, yes. Before, now they're throwing through the thing in here, they're throwing out a whole bunch of different possible platforms. Yeah. An Android version, yes.
That would be awesome.
Now, what I'm thinking, though, is... because Android is really friggin' cool. Not a version of Radical Codex for Android, but like a light reader with a very light ability to browse on Android that reads all the same formats that that Radical Codex and Android can sync back and forth to.
Ooh, Web 2.0 version, Brian.
Web 2.0.
Well, come on, he wants one.
Who does?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Who's the Web 2.0 version?
Web-based version.
Yeah, Eighth Doctor wants one. I think you should do it.
I can't do a web version of this thing. Actually, you know what? I probably could. But no. So that's what's going on. And then for was it version 1.3? I'm theoretically trying to come up with like an OpenGL based accelerated thumbnail version of the viewer. But that's down the road. You know, good stuff. Yeah, it's going to stay a desktop application, and if any of you guys are using it or buying it, the Linux version is almost certainly always going to be ahead in terms of feature set of any other version that comes out, just because it's so much easier to do stuff on Linux, and, well, that's what I'm using.
There you have it.
Cloud version.
Right. Run it on Google Apps App Engine.
Clutter. Okay, yeah, Clutter is what I'm looking at for the OpenGL side of it. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for kind of tuning in and hanging out with us today. This was a heck of a lot of fun. I have really missed doing the show.
Me too. It was really good.
There's something nice about doing the long show where we can just sit back
and also doing it
hang
live and chat with everybody.
Yeah.
That's freaking blast.
And no, I don't think there's going to be a Qt version. I think the main framework's going to stay GTK for now. Honestly, though, I love Qt, especially the more recent Qt with the better licensing and everything like that. Qt is just rad.
Yep.
But no, I think it's all going to stay. GTK.
All right. So this show with all of the editing, the music, all that kind of stuff will be out on Sunday. And if you enjoyed the show, we would really appreciate anybody that could link to it and help spread the word.
Absolutely.
If you have a blog or a Twitter, link to it and help get our Google ranking up again.
We're really going to be watching the download numbers for this episode very closely, so we can figure out what it is that we can manage to do. Hopefully, we can do this as much as we can. So
yeah, I think so. I really enjoy doing this show. So
we need a Murray segment on the show.
We should. Where's Murray?
Hey, he's taking a nap. The little fart knocker. All right, go ahead and switch the camera over.
You want me to switch it to you? All right, hold on. He's gonna harass my dog for a second.
This is a dog.
Oh, look at that Murray dog. Look at that Murray dog. Are you showing my dog's penis to everybody?
I was just showing everyone Murray's penis. All right, go ahead and hop down, buddy.
Sorry, buddy.
All right. So again, thanks everybody, and and hopping into the forums. And let us know what you're thinking on the show for the schedule and everything.
Yeah.
Get a discussion going.
Let's get the discussion going. I mean,
I love discussions.
We thought we were done with
discussions.
thought we were done with the long format, but everybody kept asking for it, and we said, we do miss it.
It's been a part of our lives for a long time now.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yes, the forum still exists. Eighth Doctor.
Forum still exists. Eighth Doctor.
It is getting spammed the crap out of it, though.
Yeah. What's up with the spam?
Not only is it getting spammed the crap out of it, but it's actual people from the States. Like Atlanta and Florida and Texas. Like I'm doing Whois lookups on them, and they're actual people.
Really?
So they're not bots.
They're not like overseas China bots?
No. I thought it was at first. I assumed.
I assume they always are. Now, we have some people acting as moderators in the forums that help to delete some of that stuff now. Yeah.
If you would like to be a moderator in our forum, if you go to our forum and want to be a mod, I could use any more help. Just send me a PM in the forum or Twitter me and say, hey, give me your forum ID and I'll make you a mod.
Go into the forum and send Chris a PM about it. Actually, you know what? You need to make it so I can moderate.
Oh, are you not? No, you are.
Nope. I can't delete or anything. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Never have been able to. Yep.
You installed the forum.
No, you did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you installed the forum, and I was the one who ran the old vanilla forum.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know that.
Man, you guys remember that, huh?
Yeah.
The old vanilla-based forum?
At linuxactionshow.com.
Yeah, man, that's old school is what that is right there.
All right.
All right,
everybody.
still up, actually. I think you can still go to
It's in read-only format.
Forum. Yeah, you can still check out the old forum. That's crazy.
For historical purposes.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're probably...
I think that totally wraps it up. Thanks again, everybody. And,
Yeah, we enjoyed the live stream. We're going to shut down the live stream because I have to restart my cable modem. I know some of you want us to keep it going, but we
got to shut it off.
We have to reboot the cable modem.
Yep. And I believe today is actually now video game day.
It is. We're going to play some video games.
We're gonna have some man time. Play some games.
That doesn't necessarily sound good.
No, it sounds great. That sounds fantastic. It sounded good. Came across right. There was nothing weird about it.